First of all, welcome again to, I think this is lecture number 9 of our Mesilat Yesharim or Mesilat Yesharim series. We are about to study Perek Zion, that is the 7th chapter, Biveur Chelkei Hazrizut, which is explaining the elements of Zrizut, which we translated as either diligence or zeal or alacrity, or what was your translation? Zeal, right? Okay. So and it's the zeal, the enthusiasm for doing the right thing, and doing things diligently, doing things with the proper intent. Okay, so we're going to study what that means. So, but first, last time he told us a little bit about the importance of it, right? What is Zerizut, and now he's going to divide it up and tell us a little bit more detail about it. So Chelkei has Rizut Shnayim. The zeal has, or diligence has, two parts, and Echad Kodem Haskolas Hamas. So one of them is the zeal that one has before he begins the action. And the way I see it is there's doing it and doing it right. Right? That's how I look at these two things. Something needs to be done, get up and do it, right? And then when you do it in full and complete, you do it the right way and you finish it and so on. Those are the two parts. Kodem Haskolas Hamas. Before a person even starts doing something, this is the first part of Zrizut, of zeal. Shelo yachmitz adam et mitzvah. A person shouldn't allow his opportunity to do a mitzvah, to do something good. He shouldn't allow it to be delayed and wait around and hang around and and procrastinate, etc. When the time comes, or the opportunity comes, right? Or an idea comes, and these are three different things that we experience. Sometimes we know we have a task, and then the time comes when it's time to perform that task. Sometimes we have a task and the opportunity presents itself to do something, and sometimes it's neither A or B, but it's more like, hey, I have this really good idea, I want to do something about it, or you can just go on your business and let that idea float away into the ether. So when those three situations arise, you should quickly do an action and start an action to grab the moment, right? And do what it is that he set out, that he now has the opportunity to do. He shouldn't just let things hang around and procrastinate more and more time until he finally does it. There is no danger worse than this. Because at any moment something can come up, an obstacle could come up, and then you won't be able to do it. So if you have the opportunity now, do it, right? Like Hillel says, and if you don't have an opportunity, you have the opportunity to do it, right? Because if you don't, we all know what happens. Tomorrow it's going to be raining, and the next day people aren't going to be there, and the next day, before you know it, a week goes by, a month goes by, and it never happens. Our rabbis taught us about this. At the time when it was time for David to appoint Shlomo, Solomon the king. This is in the beginning of the book of Kings of Sefer Melachim Aleph, where one of Shlomo's sons, Adoniyahu, was trying to grab the kingdom, and David knew that it was Shlomo was supposed to be the king, and he tells him, Amar David Livinayahu, he told Benayahu, he said, bring him down to the Gihon spring and anoint him and proclaim him king now, right? Ana Benayahu, and he said, Amen, Ken Yomar Hashem, so God had spoken, right? Now, Amar Zechonam Levracha, the Chazal, the rabbis teach us, Rabbi Pinchas B'Shem Rabbi Chanan Ditzipori, Valok Varnemer, it already said, Hine Vein Nolad Lach, Hu Ish Menucha. It already says, there's been a prophecy that says that Solomon is going to be the king. So why do you need to rush, right? What's the point? Don't worry. The prophet already said, God already declared himself that Solomon is going to be the king. The bottom line is, is between now and the actual coronation. Who knows what can happen? Who knows what obstacles? And it's remarkable because this is an actual prophecy. And this is true. What we should know in general is that, prophecies are not what commonly people think a prophecy is: a prediction of the future, what's going to happen. Prophecy, that's not what a prophecy really is. It's prophecy of what can happen or what will happen if, right? So like prophecies of doom, for example, are always, if you don't repent, you're going to get punished, right? But you can always repent and then the punishment won't happen. It's the same thing in a good thing. God says that Solomon will be king, but it's still David's job to make sure that it happens, right? If people don't do what needs to be done, it may not happen. The prophet can tell us, yeah, you can, do some great mitzvah, but if you don't actually do it, it won't get done, right? The prophet, it's nice and wonderful to know that, God wants it to happen this way. But if we don't do our own actions, nothing's going to happen. This is why Chazal warned us. So the famous mitzvah where this is one of the famous ideas is the mitzvah of matzah on Pesach, right? You have to keep the matzah, right, and not allow it to hang around. Chametz is the same word of lahachmitz, which means things becoming vinegar, it gets spoiled, but it also means to let things sit around, to procrastinate. Mitzvah bal yadcha al tach mitzana. If you have an opportunity to do a good deed, don't let it hang around. Don't procrastinate. V'amru la'olam yaktim b'adam l'dvar mitzvah. A person should do a good deed right away. Shalafisha hekdima b'chira l'tzeira. This is the story of Lot's daughters when they thought there were no human beings left on earth and they witnessed the destruction of Sodom. So they slept with their father. In this reading, that was a good act because they thought they were saving the world. So the one that did it first, she ended up, her descendant became David, right, from Moab. Moab was one of the sons, and Moab was the ancestor to Ruth, right, or Ruth, right, and her descendant was David. But then several generations later was Rechavam, that's David's grandson. Rechavam was a descendant of Ammon, right, and he, because his mother was from Ammon, so he became a part of the Jewish people later. So the one that acted faster got her reward faster. Over Medrash Amar, we said, Huyi nahagenu almus, right? We say in Tehillim that God will lead us back to almut. Almut is youthfulness, right? The energy and the exuberance that's associated in general with the youthful attitude. Bizrizot ki ilenu lemta, that the Gemara tells us, right? You should do things with zerizot, with zeal, like a young girl. Among the young girls who are playing with the drums and tambourines, right? With that enthusiasm, the excitement of young girls singing and dancing and playing instruments, with that kind of zeal, that's how we have to act. That's how we have to do our good actions. Because Zerizot is the midah of shleimut, the midah of completeness, of wholeness, right? Which a person in general stays away from these things. We like to do things the easiest possible route, the lowest common denominator. If I have to build something, as long as it stands on four legs, it's good enough. No, we have to do it right. We know the difference between doing something right and just doing something. And if you strengthen yourself and you grasp it as much as possible, that's the person who will truly succeed in the end. God will reward him in exchange for the work that he put into it. In other words, in accordance to the amount of work we put in, that's the amount of reward we will receive. So that is he's talking about grasping the moment and doing something. We have the opportunity to do it. Don't let it sit. That's the beginning. That's getting started. And then once you do it, right? The zrizot, the zeal which occurs after one begins a project. Once you grasp the opportunity and you begin, you should make sure to complete it, right? Don't try to make it the easy way. But not fast. There's two ways of doing things fast. You can do things fast because you want to get it over with, right? Or you can do things fast because you're excited about doing it. So he wants to make sure that you realize he doesn't mean do it fast, like let's just get this done as fast as possible and not do it right. But he means do it. Elami, you're also so you're doing it fast because you're worried that you won't have the opportunity to complete it. So you make sure to do it right. And the rabbis warned us on this many times. When they said so it's a very strong statement, and I'll tell you a little bit about what I think. If someone starts a mitzvah, but he doesn't complete it, kover ishto obanav. In the end, he's going to bury his wife and children. And that sounds pretty dramatic. But actually, if you think about it, he's talking, the person who lives, a man, and it was the one responsible to make sure that his family had what to eat. He needed to make sure that the farm was taken care of, the crops were grown. If you don't do it right, it'll get eaten by bugs, and they won't grow, and it won't get watered, and it won't get nothing. In the end, that's what's going to happen. Your family is not going to make it. It's kover ishto abanav. If you don't do it right, the end result is disaster. The credit for a mitzvah is given to he who finished it, who completed it. Shlomo says chazisa in Mishlei and Proverbs, chazisa ish mahir b'mlachto l'fnei melachim yisyatzav. A person who does his work quickly and efficiently, he's the one who is going to be sitting in front of the kings. He's not going to end up sitting in front of the losers, right? So the guy who's successful, the one who works his way up to the top, is the one who worked his way up to the top, right? Not the one who was lazy about things. The guy who always did a half-baked job just to get his paycheck and go home, right? And the Chazal, the rabbis, gave this special praise to Shlomo, Solomon himself, because he quickly and took upon himself the project of building the temple, which was the project given to him by his late father. He said, Shlomo, you have to build it. So he didn't delay it. He wasn't lazy about it. He did it, and he did it right, and he received a lot of credit for doing that. The same thing by Moshe we find when it came time to build the tabernacle. He did it, and he did it quickly. Right? Righteous people always act quickly and efficiently. They what's the saying? Like, if you need to get something done, ask a busy man. If you find a guy who's not doing anything, he's probably not the guy that you want to ask, because there's a reason why he's not doing anything. And if you want to get something done, you find a guy who's doing stuff, right? And then you'll know it'll get done. So Avram Kasav Bo Vayemer Avram Ola Asar. It talks about Avram rushing home, Vayitin Al-Nar Vayemayher, and he gave the food and got everything quickly prepared. And Rivka, it says, when she was giving the camels to drink, Vatemaher, she hurried, Vata'arkada, and she poured out the jug. She hurried. You act quickly, you act with zeal. Right? They didn't delay, they didn't procrastinate. Not for starting it and not on completing it. They did it quickly and completed it and saw it to completion. Now this is interesting here, right? Because he's saying a person who is excited, right, who is literally on fire and is excited about serving God, right, is excited and on fire about doing the right thing. Such a person, that's the kind of person who's not going to be lazy, right? If you love the job that you're doing and you're excited about it, then you're going to have more zeal and you're going to actively do things quickly and efficiently and right? He won't rest, he won't be quiet until it's seen through to its completion. However, I want you to think about this, because sometimes we don't have that fire. Sometimes we have a good opportunity comes up in our lives. We have an idea, we have something, but we're not excited about it. Maybe we think we should be, but we're just not, for whatever reason, we're just not. So when that happens, just like the zeal which we have comes from our inner zeal, right? But it also goes the other way around. Sometimes you have to push yourself to do things, right? And then eventually the zeal comes, right? A person who feels himself while he's doing this mitzvah, while he's doing this good deed. Just like he's doing it quickly on the outside, the same thing, it causes that it should start lighting a fire in his soul. And I think of an example, a simple example for us. If somebody asks you to volunteer to do a good project, and you'd rather go home, you have more other things you'd rather do. You want to go to watch TV, you'd rather eat a pizza, whatever it is that you'd rather do, right? But you know that it's important, so you say, okay, I'm gonna forget it. I'll just go and I'll do it. But then you go, and when you're there, you start doing it, and then you realize this is important, this is good, and then you start getting filled with more zeal to do it, and then afterwards you feel good about what you've done. And that's really what he's saying here. Sometimes we have to push ourselves, but when you're doing the right thing, the zeal sometimes follows the action, and sometimes the action follows the zeal, and they feed off each other, right? And the desire to do it will get stronger and stronger. The same thing goes the other way. If you're walking around lazy, if you ever go to work and everyone's sitting around, blah, 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 everyone's is in a mood, nobody wants to do anything. And then in the end, it just goes round and around. Nobody's interested, and everybody gets in a bad mood, and everybody's depressed, and everybody's complaining, and nothing gets done, right? Because everyone's sitting around doing nothing. And that's so it goes. It can be the same phenomena works for good and it works for bad. You wouldn't happen to have a USB charger, would you?
Oh, yeah, I do.
Well, because this is not charging, but I don't know. It's whatever.
Is it for your phone or for your
This is designed for a phone, but I've left my charger and I only have like 20% left now.
Dang.
All right, whatever.
It is. Have the phone time. No, it's in my car, but it's
okay. All right, so V'amnam, however, we will finish this chapter on this lecture for sure, within my charge, and then we'll see. I was planning on doing this chapter and the next, but we'll see. V'tireh she'ha'adam asher tilahet nafsho ba'avodas boro, a person who is fire. Oh, I'm sorry, I just read that. V'amnam kvar yadata, you already know. Sha'nirtze yoser. See, now that he told us about the difference and the interrelatedness between our actions and our zeal for our actions, what does God really want from us? The bottom line, what he really wants, more than the action, is the zeal for the action. And this is an important statement, right? What he wants is our soul. He wants us to be involved. He's more excited to see us excited than to see us. Obviously, it's all taken when God is excited. You understand, the Maimonideans among us realize that I don't really mean that God is excited, but for the purpose of conversation, it's expressing a point, right? Is the zeal to do it is the most important thing. This is what David says, just like a lion yearns for the brooks of water. So does my soul desire you. My soul is thirsty for God, right? So again, he brings other verses that demonstrate the importance of the thirst, our heart's desire to do the right thing, right? Etc. So we're finishing up this chapter now. But this is a book of advice, right? So if we just don't feel a desire to help, we look around in the world and it's depressing and everything's falling apart, and we just do what we want to do is just curl up on our couch and just let everything fall apart because we and we're just depressed, and that's something that happens to all of us too often, and we want to do that. So what do? He's telling us we should have zeal to go out and do things, to change things, to make things better, right? So I'm telling you advice. Eitza tovahi. Here's a good piece of advice. You should push yourself to go and have the zeal. Push yourself to go do the right thing. Once you start, that will pull you that the desire and the and the longing to do it will become part of your nature, right? You get yourself out of bed, you volunteer to do that thing which you know is important, and once you get there and start doing it, you'll find it in your soul that it was the right thing. Even though I'm sure we've all had these experiences where we didn't really want to do anything, but we pushed ourselves to go do the right thing because we knew it was, and then when we were there, we were so happy afterwards that we did it. It's rare that you look back at when you make a good decision to do something like that and you regret it afterwards. Usually you look back and say, I'm so happy that I got my behind off my couch and I did it, and that's really what he's saying. right, exactly. You came to the class or you logged on to Zoom or whatever it is, right? So ubevadai ki hatnua hachitzonu me'orer sapnimis. It's just the fact of psychology that our actions do inspire our inner our inside. Ubevadai sheyoser mesura biyado hi hachitzona me'apnimis. And we have more control over our actions than we have over our zeal, right? Remember, he's teaching us how to acquire zeal here. And we do have control. We can decide to do something whether we like it or not. The inspiration doesn't always come. We might sit down and say, "Oh, I want to be inspired," but it's just not there. But if one piece of advice he's giving us is to just get up and do it, and you'll find that the inspiration will follow. Right? If you do what you can control, which is your actions, then the things that you can't control or have less control over, your emotions, will follow. The joy, the inner joy, the desire and the fervor to do the right thing will come from the strength because of the actions that you're doing with your body. And this is what the prophet says, let us go and let us run in order to know God. What does it mean we should run to know God? Running is nice. It gives good exercise. It's fun. Maybe it depends. But it's a physical action. But why does it say I run to know God? I don't know that many people that, they say, but that's the point. When you run, it inspires, run meaning you act and you do that, then the knowledge that does follow, the desire to do it comes. Again, a similar verse, like a lion roaring, right? We will go after God. So these are some good advices. Now it's telling me the USB is not working. Okay, fine. I knew that already. Okay, so that ends this chapter. The next chapter is pretty short, chapter 8. I'm going to go for it, and I think I have enough power to record it. So if it cuts in the middle, what I might do is turn on my cell phone and do Zoom on my cell phone, and then I'll record it as like a second half. I think that's fair. But I think we'll get.
Hang on, Jeffrey. Hang on.
Yeah,
I'm with you.
All right, I think we'll get it. So hine. So how do you acquire zerizut? So the first thing he says, hine ha'em tzo'im asher nikneh bam hazrizut. The means through which we acquire this zeal. How do we get it? All right. Heim osam asher nikneh bam hazirut. It's very similar. It's the same as the ones. Remember when we were talking about carefulness or watchfulness or concern, the trait that we preceded this one. If you remember, he told us then it's really one thing and then three things. The one thing was learn, right? Learn. You do the research, right? And I don't mean, conspiracy theory research. I mean, learn, right? Learn the truth. Learn what needs to be done, and what you're supposed to do, what you're not supposed to do. So the same thing. Get out there. If you want to be a Zaras, you want to have zeal to do the right thing, find out what are the things you can be involved in. What are the things you can do? What are the classes you can attend, the projects you can accomplish. So learn was number one. And then there was three other things he said. One were for the Shlemi Hadas, those people who really understand are those that, if you understand and feel the importance of it, right, then you're going to do the right thing and you're not going to do the wrong thing. That was number one. The second category were people doing it for honor, right? Right. He said, where people understand that everyone knows that if I go and involve myself in a charity event, I'm going to get a pat on the back. It's going to be good. And if I go and I involve myself in activities that are not so great, then people are going to say, well, look at that loser and what he's doing, right? So you think about your own honor. And then the third was people that are afraid of schar v'onesh. You want to get reward for doing something good, and you don't want to get punished. So that was the third. Remember, he's in levels, right? The top level is the person that does it just because it's right, right? The next level is a person that's aware of his own honor, right? He wants to be looked at good. Then the third was the people who are just simply afraid of being punished, and they and want to get the reward. So those same levels, and remember, when we learned it in Zehirut a few weeks ago, we learned that you can work your way up from the bottom to the top, right? So it's the same thing for Zrizut, right? So that's why this is a short chapter, because he's not going to review those concepts, but he's just referring us back to them. So if you want to be a Zariz, you want to have zeal, remember those things. Learn and remember those three levels. You can start off by thinking, if I do this action, I'm going to get a reward. Then you can start thinking, I'm going to get a reward, whether maybe you can get paid, maybe not, or maybe you're going to get a reward, but people are going to, give you an honor or something, or give you a trophy, whatever it is. And that of course leads to honor, feeling good. People around you look at you and say, oh, look, he's a great guy. See what he did. But then all of a sudden you realize, hey, you know what? I actually did something good here. Like I helped people. I did something nice, So this is they're very similar. The carefulness and watchfulness is very similar to zeal, right? Watchfulness is guarding from doing bad things. The only difference is one is talking about the things that you should do, and the other one is talking about staying away from the things that you shouldn't do. When a person realizes the greatness, because ultimately, what's the bottom line? We want to get you to the level where you understand the value of the mitzvahs, and you do them because they're valuable, right? So when you get there, and how obligated you are to do them, that you have to do them because they're important, that is when that's when you will certainly be inspired to do it, and you won't be lazy from it. Now I'm about to go dead, so I'm going to stop for a minute. I'm going to try to log on my phone and continue the recording there, and somehow maybe I'll find a way to put the recordings together. So just hold on, and if you you'll get knocked out of the meeting, but then invite yourselves back in after I started on my phone, okay? Do I even have Zoom on my phone? Damn, I don't think I do.
No.
I just downloaded. So give me a few minutes, okay? I'm sorry.
That's okay. Good luck.
All right, thanks.
Good luck.
How many people were on? Jeffrey and Jacqueline?
Jeffrey and Yosef. Yay, it's working. All right, so you guys can see me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I don't know if I can see you, but I can see that you're there. So either way, so we are in the Parakhat, we're on the 8th chapter, and we are about to, I just read the first paragraph. I just said that if you reach and understand and it becomes true to you inside how important it is, then zeal will automatically come. Note that, remember, there was those three levels. There's people that are just afraid, of punishment and want rewards, char v'onesh, and then there's people doing it for their own honor, and then there's people that do it because they realize how important it is, do it just because it's important. The one that he chooses to mention is when you finally get to that point where you realize how important it is to do the right thing. That's when zeal will come, right? And when many of us have, I know I certainly have had times in my life when it just occurs to you, that I'm doing the right thing. It hits you in the head, and all of a sudden you feel excited about things. You feel excited about doing it. And that's the reason. And so it takes time to get there, but when you get there, you got it. So v'amnam. However, how do you go ahead and what actions can I give you some advice? You want to bring this about, right? So I want to give you some advice that Ramchal is telling us to get that zeal if you don't have it. Let's say you're sitting on your couch and you just, in concept, it would be nice to be excited about doing good deeds, but it's just not there. So what do you do? So he says, I'll tell you what to do. Think about the following. Think about all of the wonderful things, wonderful favors that God does for us, for all of us people, all day, all the time, right? Think about how fortunate we are, right? Think about the things that we have that are good. Think about our family, think about our health, think about, our home, all the things that we have that we can look at that are good, our life, the fact that who we are, where we are, and so on. And the tremendous wonders that God does with us from the moment we were born, all the way till our last day on earth. The more you think and you look about and you think about these issues, these things, right? It'll immediately become clear, and you'll remember, and it'll remind yourself of the incredible obligation we have, right, to the God who does these good things for us. And these and these will be a means so that you will not be lazy and procrastinate and not do your job. Obviously, we cannot repay God, right? But at least we can give thanks to him. So the idea to be thankful for what we have, and this is the idea that we hear all the time, give back to society, these ideas that are being said, think we're lucky to be here. I mean, as troublesome as things are in our times and around the world around us and the country we live in, but the bottom line is we're here, we're talking, we can have a Zoom class, people can be in DC, can be in Canada, can be wherever, and we can all be learning together. We have friends that we can talk to. We have food that we can eat. Thank you, by the way, for bringing the food. There's so many things that we can be thankful for. So it's ours, and there's so many people that don't have these things. So we need to go ahead and give back. It gives us a responsibility to do. And if we have the ability to do something, then that's already something to be thankful for. I have this ability to do it, And ultimately, this is the point. If you want to get that zeal, then think about those things. Don't take things for granted. Remember, if you had an idea that you can run a certain project and solve a problem and help people out, you have a skill where you can do that, or you have a resource that you can use to help. That's something to be tremendously thankful for, and it should inspire in you the responsibility to use that, to do something right with it. There is no person, no matter what situation he is in, whether he is rich or poor, whether he is healthy or sick, that he won't see wonders and good things in his situation. Now, obviously we do think to ourselves, there are times when people are in horrifically tragic situations of unimaginable suffering. But, here's where, if you remember back, a couple months back when I quoted from the Edith Eger's book, The Choice, and, Viktor Frankl's book, when even in the depths of despair, they still found something to hold on to, their ability to control what's in their mind, to choose how they react to the situation around them, even though they had no control over anything else. So no matter what situation we're in, if we exist, we have something to be thankful for. If you're healthy and you're wealthy, well, clearly you have a lot to be thankful for. You have means, you have what you need to live, and you have health. But even a poor man, Chayavlo, also has obligations, also has things that he's fortunate to have. Shafilu be'anyo, even though he's poor, mamsilo parnasos, he's alive, right? Derech netzvah, through, even though he doesn't have a job, but he manages somehow, so he has something. He's not dying of hunger. A sick person, despite his illness, he's able to make it, he's able to survive. All of us, just the very fact that we exist, that we're here, is something that gives us some level of obligation to give back, right? When you see these great things that we get from God, so certainly this will inspire us and wake us up to be more full of zeal, more zeros, right? In our worship of God. Like I mentioned before, kol shekain, certainly. When you start thinking that ultimately, where does it all go? It all goes back to the Creator, right? We're all here because God created the universe and gave us a world in which we can live and thrive, right? And ultimately, it all goes back to that. And that which we need, and that which we require. They all come from him. Ultimately, there's no other force or power in the world that we need to give thanks to other than the Creator that brought it all to be, right? So ultimately, our thanks don't go to even the people around us that help us. Of course, we should be thankful to them, but ultimately, they're there also because God created this world and put them there. He certainly will not be lazy when it comes to worshiping God and living the right kind of life. And he won't be missing, right, that which he needs to accomplish and he needs to achieve. He won't miss that. He won't be remiss. And you should see, right, or note, right? Shekolalti po, I included here bidvari in my words, shloshes hamadregos asher chilaktem baziros, those 3 levels, right? Remember the 3 levels, the level of schar va'onesh, doing things because you're afraid of punishment and you want reward, doing things because of honor, and doing things because that's the right thing to do. I've included that in my brief discussion, even though I did it at length last time. But this time, in my brief discussion, all of those levels, all of those madrigos, all of those steps are included. It's interesting because here he openly refers to them as madrigos. When I taught you that first chapter, he laid out the 3, but he didn't actually call them steps. I taught it that way because I knew that's what he meant. But over here, he openly states that they are steps. One is meant to lead to the other, which is meant to lead to the other. Because they're really all in essence the same. The same way I explained it there, it's true here too. Those that are of, literally it means of perfect knowledge, the people that really understand and really get it. Why is it that they know that they have that, and why do they desire to do something with zeal? It's because they recognize and they realize that it's their obligation. It's what they're supposed to do. They know they're supposed to do it, right? And not for any other alternative motive. It's just the right thing to do, right? And that's the highest level, because of the value of these actions and their importance. In other words, when you recognize their importance, you do it because you realize that it's important. But those that are not quite up to that level, they're thinking about their own honor. They're thinking about their own legacy. They're thinking about their own reputation, right? They're worried about, one day when push comes to shove, people are going to realize that I was a lowlife, that I was a nobody. So I don't want to be that. I want to be a good guy. When the end of the show comes, I want everybody to say, wow, he was one of the good guys. So you do the right thing. When when he sees how much he could have done and he wasted his time. So and you don't want to be there. And to the vast majority of people, just tell them, just practically do the right thing, because it will lead to a better outcome. Work, because if you work, you'll get a paycheck, and you'll be able to eat. In your needs. And he's admitting here that the vast majority of the people do run that way. The goal of this book is to get us up those madrigos, is to get us beyond that. Sure, you can go to a fire and brimstone sermon where somebody gets up there and says you're going to burn in hell if you do these bad things, and you're going to get this big reward if you do these good things. And if 90% of the crowd goes home and does good things and goes away from, okay, fine, but that's not where you want to be, right? You don't want to not do bad things because you're afraid of burning in hell. You want to not do bad things because they're bad.
External versus internal motivation.
Very much so. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's not, you want to internalize that, but not internalize the fear, but internalize the importance, right, of this issue, and realize, why do I want to do good? Because it's the right thing to do, because I live in a world where I was given this opportunity. That's what he means by thanking God. I live in a world where I have the opportunity to do good things. It's how I should act. It's what I'm supposed to do. I shouldn't be involved in wasting my time with nonsense because exactly that, because it's a waste of time. It's not what I'm supposed to be doing, right? Or worse, it's actively evil or wrong. And that's ultimately the level where we want to get to. And that ultimately is how to achieve the result, how to achieve the midah of zeal.
Wow, that was short.
Yeah. The next one chapter, we're not going to start today, but it's going to be talking about the things that take us away from zerizut, things that ruin our ability to achieve the level of zeal. It's pretty long, but we should be able to get through it all next week before we get to the next trait of nikiyut, which is purity or cleanliness, or I don't know how they translate it in all these books, but
You mean
but
2
either,
weeks? You mean 2 weeks from now? I mean next week or
yeah,
2
that
weeks?
would probably be 2 weeks from now. Next week maybe we'll start it next week. I'm sorry, I say next week, I mean next lecture. Is 2 weeks from now the week that we're gonna do it, or we're gonna delay?
I think that was the week you're skipping.
Oh, yeah, but I thought it was really actually next week though.
Well, look out for announcements. We'll figure this out and we'll tell everybody. And we'll tell everyone in all of the what do you call it? In all of the chats. I'll give messages as to when we're studying next. But no, we have a few minutes to talk. So if anyone has any observations, comments, questions, the floor is open.
Just wanted to say that it's amazing we're learning this in Parsha Shoftim about the king and about everything else that you touched tonight.
Yeah.
Shlomo Melech and Adoniah and everybody else.
Well, you're learning Melachim now, like you're having a lecture on it, Melachim, or?
No, Parsha Shoftim. I'm saying that.
I got it. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think like chapter 8 is, if there was one word of a theme that I see there, I would maybe say gratitude. Maybe
Yes.
like it's about gratitude.
Yes. Gratitude and gratitude as a motivator to do the right thing. Like, how do you know? Like we talked about this lofty idea of doing the right thing because it's right, right? So how do you know that it's right? Why is it right to do the right thing? Why isn't it right for me just to go down the street and do whatever the hell I want, right? And his answer is gratitude, right? Because if you appreciate what you have, then you realize that gives you a responsibility to use it properly. If you don't appreciate it, and this is really the crucial difference, if you remember from Rambam, the main idea, the Rambam told us that we as believers and religious people, we believe there's a creator. That's the real bottom line difference between someone who's religious and someone who's not. There's a creator. And if there's a creator, then he must have done it for a reason. There's what it is, I don't know, but there's a reason, right? There's a purpose. But if we recognize that, then we also feel gratitude. A creator made us here, brought the joy that I have, the pleasure I have of eating this nugget here, right? I'm getting because Billy brought it, but also because I was granted, taste buds and the
And Billy.
and Billy and friends and all these things, and you recognize that gives us an obligation. It gives us an obligation to give back, to say thank you, to appreciate, and to reciprocate. And so the underlying reason why, according to this chapter 8, the argument that he's making, the reason why we should live a good life and do the right thing is gratitude. It's because of thanks to God for what we have. And if someone is questioning whether or not they believe in God, you should still have gratitude. It should still gratitude for the universe that you're in. So don't ruin it, don't wreck it. Gratitude for all the human beings that built the world that is around us and that we're enjoying. So treat them nicely. Do everything that makes the world beautiful. Treat it properly. Gratitude transcends your belief. It's just a natural, logical motivation to do the right thing.
Can I ask one question? Leave this thought with the group. The English translation, and you covered it already, says if one is poor, he should feel indebted to God for miraculously supplying him with the necessities of life and for not allowing him to starve to death. Not allowing
Right.
There's a great thing that I recently read. It was like Rabbi Elimelech's, I think, older brother. Was it Zusha? Was that his name? Who said
Yes.
the following: when he was starving, had no food, he thanked God for giving him an appetite.
Mm.
And I've thought about that, and there is a limit, it seems to me, to thankfulness. And maybe when you're starving, I don't think I could ever say to myself, God, thank you for giving me an appetite.
It's very, very hard when we're suffering at any level to think about gratitude. You know, when you're in pain, that all you can really think about is the pain, you know. And even though there are things we can have gratitude even at those moments, but it takes a strong person to look beyond that and still have gratitude. And it's a little bit arrogant for me to say that. I mean, if God forbid I was in such a terrible, terrible situation, if I was still in a dungeon in Gaza being starved to death, you know, like what would I, you know, would I still have gratitude? You know, I hope I could find something to have gratitude. And it sounds like an ideal, but how many of us could have that, you know?
I think that's the goal though, right? Because of you mentioned 2 books where they were in, you know, obviously not in
Right.
they were in a situation that even seemed worse.
Yeah, that's why I raised those books at all, because they have the right to tell us about gratitude in terrible suffering. You know, I don't have the right to. In my life, thank God, has been pretty good. You know, I had my ups and downs like everybody, but for the most part, like I can't even compare. I can't even remotely, not even the same universe, the type of suffering that those 2 individuals went through. So when they tell you that they were able to find something to hold on to in the concentration camp, you know, that they have the right to read this chapter and say that no matter what situation you're in, you can find something, you know, because they were literally in about as bad as it can get, you know.
Yeah. I think also one of the things that God gives us is a way that we regulate to the new normal. So when we lose our legs, we are, you know, we suffer mentally for a while, but then we get used to what the new normal is, and we're able to adapt, right? And I mean, that's a kind of a God-given ability that we have as humans.
Yeah.
I think the first chapter that we did tonight gets to that people need purpose in their life, not just running to an activity. I mean, and I deal with this on a daily basis with people, is that action begets action. So, but you have to have a reason. You know, how do you get, sometimes you just have to do, and that action will give you more energy.
Yeah.
But it also gives you purpose when you have an action.
Yeah.
It reminded me of Kavanaugh, you know. Am I saying that right? Like, you know.
Oh, Kavanaugh, yeah, sure. Okay. Intent, right?
Yeah. But just having, you know, just sometimes that's what I like about the Jewish religion in general, is that it actually says it doesn't matter if you feel like doing the right thing, do the right thing. And if you're blessed, your heart will feel it.
Yeah, and that was what he was teaching tonight.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try it when not that you guys need it because you were here, but for those that will be watching this for posterity on YouTube, I'm gonna try to hook the 2 videos together, so make some seamless. Yeah, so no, I really appreciate everyone for arranging the room here in the library and the food, and for everyone that logged in from over wherever it is that you're logging in from. And I'm the next class I will announce soon, you know, in the chats. I'll announce when it is, but whether it's 2 weeks or 1 week or soon, we'll be back and continue studying from chapter 9. And have a wonderful day, night, evening, whatever. All right, be well. Yes. Bye.